Welcome to the podcast. This show is about the Real Estate Network Training Society community, also known as RENTS. We're a diverse group of investors and our members range from beginners to seasoned pros. RENTS is the only charity real estate education company in Canada, and we're here to help you on your journey to financial freedom using real estate. My name is Sam Perrin. I'm the president of RENTS, and I'll be your host today. I'm a full-time real estate investor who's retired as a police officer at the age of 30 to spend more time with my family. Now I help people create passive income through real estate. As you'll see from the many stories shared on this show, there's lots of roads that will take you to your goals. When you hear the diverse experiences of our guests, I bet that you'll find a path that mirrors your own, and this will inspire you to take the actions needed to build your wealth too. When you become financially free, you're better positioned to make the world a better place. And that's what we're all about. You can send any questions or suggestions for the show to info@rents.website. That's info@rents.website. Enjoy the show. All right, so my guest today is Mike Everett. And I'm so excited to be speaking with Mike. We've become friends over the years, crossing paths in the real estate world, and it's been really cool to push each other along and watch each other grow in acquisitions. So welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our talk here tonight, and looking forward to your presentation on Friday the 26th, April 26th. It's going to be great. We're very privileged to have you come out and talk about all things multifamily, and we'll get talking about the economics and stuff like that too. We had some interesting conversation before the recording started about the real cause of the financial crisis, and we'll get into that probably over a beer after the meeting next Thursday. I really like your the way that you articulate kind of the financial situation that we're in right now. We speak a similar language, and I'm hoping to dive into that as well. But I think what we really want to know, what the listeners want to know, because there's just never enough time to network, is a little bit about you. So, why don't we start with that? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I started investing. I guess we'll start with very from the beginning. I guess I've never been unemployed since I was 7 years old. I've always worked for someone, and I think 40 years of working for other people. So you can guess my age from that. I think I'm kind of tired of working for other people, and so about 10 years ago I started looking for alternatives, and I've always had an interest in real estate, but I actually never pursued it at that point. And I finally took the plunge. I started investing, and then it was kind of the same time period that I bought my first house with a rental suite in it. I met my wife. So we kind of I got her on board right off the bat as well with what I was doing, and we I think it was probably 2008 2009 we started making our moves with real estate. The subprime crisis, it actually created an opportunity for us because we didn't have any assets, and we had the money to start buying, and we were able to leverage. Credit was still free, and there was the rules around the mortgage rules around credit were sparse, if any. So we were able to leverage and quickly bought I think seven houses in a multifamily apartment building. Our first multifamily apartment building, and just using creative ways of financing. And then eventually we started doing a couple joint ventures, and quickly found out that single residential wasn't where we wanted to be. It was that's right around the time the rules around credit and getting mortgages started tightening up, and you could see where it was going and how difficult it was going to be to qualify for single residential. So we switched. It was kind of like I use metaphors a lot to explain myself. So it's kind of like if you're in the open ocean and you're a big big tanker in the middle of the ocean, it takes a long time to steer the ship. So we started transforming our portfolio from the single residential to multifamily. We sold off a couple properties. We refinanced a few. And then we went to multifamily in a big way last year, culminating, I think we bought 7 multifamilies last year, and we're already off to a good start this year. We have one under contract. So when we close on this, we'll have 9 multifamily, and I think we still have 3 houses. We still have 3 houses on top of that. So it's been a pretty good adventure the last, I guess, 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
So it's going well, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down on the horizon. So actually, I kind of want to turn it up a bit faster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fabulous. You want to turn it up faster, but how many acquisitions did you have last year?
7 multifamilies.
7 multifamily. So multifamily is for our listeners is 5 units or more, or 6 units or more, depending who you talk to. So maybe we should backpedal a little bit. So your first, I guess, joint venture partner was your wife.
Well, yeah, I guess my life joint venture, probably my most solid joint venture. So she allows me to do all this stuff, the research and the time away, and she's kind of the power behind the throne in my case, and I know it. So she gets, and she actually does this as well. Like she reads the same books as I do, and she puts in the same effort, and she actually, she's catching up and closing distance on me. So. In regards to knowledge and teach this stuff, and she's in some areas she's actually even better. She enjoys areas that I don't really particularly like. She really likes tax law, which that's a rare quality. So I let her do all that kind of stuff, and she researches and she tells me all sorts of things. It's great, right? So that's because real estate's a business and you get lots of write-offs. So it's good to have that on site.
Well, that sounds like absolutely perfect joint venture partners, and you guys have been bearing lots of fruit both in the real estate world and also your family life too. Congratulations on your newest addition, Darius, right?
Yeah, just came to us about 3 weeks ago. So 7 pounds 7 ounces, and
yeah,
he's a gorgeous little guy, and he's got 2 big sisters that like, what do you call it, fret over him, or they look after him and take care of him, and sometimes they get a little bit too enthusiastic and try to pick him up, but there's nothing wrong with that, but there needs to be a parent there when they do it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's just fantastic. Now now you got three young kids as well, and we were just talking before this. Our call was actually delayed by an hour because my kids were acting up. So it's nice to share so many interests and common languages. Very.
Yeah, you don't have to explain too hard. I'm sitting here with spit up on my shirt right now, so I get it. So yeah, it's fantastic, and it's nice that real estate really supports the thing that really matters most to us, right? A reason why the family, right? So the best part about the real estate is I know all 3 of my kids' college education is already paid for.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
Provided I've created life's always about options and creating options, right? The more options you have, usually the life is a little easier on you. Yeah. So be able to create my kids' options before they're even in elementary school is kind of nice, right? So I know that they have a good future ahead of them. They can do whatever wherever their passion takes them, and we can help them get there. It's a pretty good feeling as a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful. We're incredibly fortunate and blessed to be able to live the lives that we do. But part of that is just arming yourself with the right information, and of course taking action, which is something that you guys are just excellent at doing. So, what did I want to talk about a little bit? Your introduction brought up so many things.
There's so many ways to go with real estate. Like, it's hard to nail down one avenue to talk about.
Yeah, well, I want to talk more about you and your beginning. So it sounds like you started out at 2008, 2009. We're going to talk specific about some of the deals and examples, and the amazing creative ways that you found to buy all these properties. And in your joint venture stuff and all that. But I just kind of at macro level interested in what market did you guys start in when you first started?
the houses were kind of like that new investor type thing. We wanted to see it and touch it type of thing. And we were in the Surrey and I guess Langley market, the Surrey and Langley, the lower mainland of BC. And it was that's where we got our start, and we bought the houses. But houses back then were like half what cost of what they are now, right? So everything cash flowed when you bought them. You could easily cash flow. And it's a much different market now, because I think even the coach houses, like we bought a few coach houses, and they were $550,000, $600,000 back then. Now they're all like 1.1 million. So it's a completely different, but the rents have gone up, but not substantially the same as the cost of the house. So you're pretty much, you need to put 25-30% or 30-35% down to even get in a sniff of good cash flow.
Yeah.
So it's a different market now.
So prices tripled basically in 8-9 years.
Yeah, it's been a crazy market in BC. So, but we got it at the right time, and like say we used the subprime crisis to our advantage at that time. We were just lucky. We recognized the opportunity, and we just took it. And that's what knowledge gives you. To all listeners, that if you want to spend any one area, it's knowledge and understanding the economics and understanding how real estate works, and then taking action is just basically trusting what you learned, and then executing.
Yeah, and then you bought your first multifamily. Where was that you managed to?
Prince George. It was a 12-suiter in Prince George. We went to Edmonton first. We actually had a deal together. We were going to close, and then there was an issue on the valuation. And I think about it now, and I kind of realized, wow, it was really crazy. I should have just, because I was taught everything was about CMHC financing and that. And what I should have done is just bought it, because it was a difference of like $50,000. But at that time we were stretched pretty thin. In order to buy that building, and I think it was a difference of about $50,000, and it was just because what CMHC would have came back, and we would have had to cover the difference on the valuation, and that would have stretched us so thin. It was kind of like that self-doubt crept in, so we didn't pull the trigger. We actually walked away from about $15,000 in pre-buy costs. Like in multifamily, you do appraisals, you do environmentals, you do building condition reports, and they're $3,000 to $4,000 each, especially in a hot market. Yeah. So we walk, and then you got the travel costs, hotels, car rentals, plane tickets, and we traveled two or three different times during the process. In the end, we ended up walking away. Yeah. So you leave all that money on the table, and it didn't really bother me at the time, because I knew we'd make it up eventually. So we went to another market. We went to Prince George. We found a relatively well-priced building that had just been renovated. It worked for us. Originally, when I first saw it, I thought it was overpriced, because I was an inexperienced buyer, and I thought everything was overpriced, and I waited, I actually waited in this case, and the guy dropped to the price I thought it would, I should pay for it. And he called me. I waited I think 2 months, and then the realtor called me 2 months later and said, "Yeah, you're interested in still buying this? Are you still looking?" And I went, "Absolutely." So put an offer in right away, and we bought it, did our inspections, and we took possession a couple months later. And it was a interesting experience. Now that I've gone through it twice, because I'd gone through all the approvals and everything and all that twice now, so you're kind of getting experience what works, what doesn't work. Yeah. And it just, we closed on it, and right off the bat, there's always a few, it's like the honeymoon phase when you get the building, and then month 2, month 3, you kind of start to see the warts in the building. Yeah. So. And I have to correct for it here and there, and there's a few months of negative cash flow, and there was then it kind of returned to normal, stable, and then we had issues in that market with drugs on the corner lot, corner building, where I had to call the local operational officer for the RCMP and let him know about the I guess the drugs being sold out of that building, and it took less than a week for that to be closed down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then after that, it the area picked up again. Life turned to normal, and the Walking Zombie Nation is what I call them. They left and they went somewhere else. I guess wherever they set the new crack shack up. So, it's like putting your hand in a bucket of water. It just displaces it. It never solves the problem, but the neighborhood went back to a pretty decent neighborhood, and we started making cash flow again. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and then did you see rents increase? Did you increase the building value? What made you want to continue down the multifamily route?
Yeah, and this building, the rents slowly increased over time. There was a time we were stagnant. I just ignored it. I trusted my manager to do that, or my caretaker to look after that, and that was a mistake. Then I kind of realized I had to take a more active role, and then I did an audit on the building. Right around the same time, we did the refinance to raise money to buy the other buildings. So the cool thing was when we did the refinance on that building, we got our original money out. We still own the money, and then the rent increases that we could do actually covered the cost of the new increase on the mortgage plus $5. So I got you get hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket tax free because it doesn't trigger a capital gain till you sell the building, and then So I got that, and I got the new mortgage cost covered off by the building. That's the beauty of the cap rate equation, because it self-finances itself. And then I got an extra $5 a month on top of that, and it was perfect. And then so we raised enough. I think we raised it in 6 months when we started selling off houses and refinancing. We raised about $800,000 in cash. Just to go buy multifamilies, and then that's what we did the big push in multifamilies, and then we brought in friends and family and as JVs and that, and we ended up buying more buildings than we thought we were going to, and it went really well, building after building, and then we're just closing that building, and then we did another one, and then we did another one, and it was crazy. The most interesting one was the last couple. We closed on 3 buildings and did 2 residential refinances in there as well, all at the same time. So it had to be perfectly aligned. Like it was the way the rules were set up, and it was a stressful time. But I'll never do it again. But it was a good experience and it was because we were organized to how we approached it.
Yeah, well, I've seen your sophisticated investor binder, or your presentation binder that you give to the lenders, and the amount of detail that your reports have is absolutely astounding. I'm sure they don't see that hardly ever from anyone except maybe our other guest speaker, Pierre-Paul Turgeon. He might get pretty detailed, but I mean the level of detail that you guys go into is absolutely amazing, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it because you say that your wife is is great at tax law, but I mean fact is you have a legal background yourself, don't you?
A little bit,
yeah. Yeah, and. Anyway,
yeah, it's like just years of experience, right? Like you just basically you got to verify all your information. And it's just a process I go through, and in the end, that binder report's probably 300 to 380 pages long, which sounds really impressive, but really it's like 60 pages of my work, and then there's like the appraisal and the contracts and the environmentals and all that get put in the appendixes, so it's not but there's probably 60 pages of my work where it goes over the detail of the building we're buying, and usually there's a business plan that goes with that building, and so I detail in that business, and because I'm ahead of the game, ahead of the curve when CMHC and the bank goes and looks at the building, I've already identified the issues. Like your best when you're buying, with your due diligence, you will identify more opportunities during the due diligence phase than you will just by scouring the internet. So when you're actually in the building, doing the inspections and looking around, and that's when you see the opportunities. You see the extra storage room and the pantry closet, whatever. You could fit a laundry into it. Add get in suite laundries, and you can raise rents that way. Or the last building we did, there was 5 garages in the back, and they were using them for personal storage, and it's crazy because you go down the road, one of the U-Haul or self-storage places, they're charging $300 a month for half the space.
Right.
So even if you put you charge $200 a month for the 5 units, it's $1,000 a month on top of your cash flow you're already getting, and that's a $250,000 value add, or $240,000 in a 5% cap market. So that's 12 times $1,000 is $12,000 divided by 5%. So that's how you get the $240,000 value, because that's how multifamily is valuated. Yeah. So already knowing that, we assume that mortgage, so we already know in a year and a half, 2 years when we're getting a new mortgage, we can refinance it because we've added value to that building. We can pull that extra value and go buy no more buildings. So by doing your due diligence up front, it reveals opportunities to go buy more buildings, which real estate's a volume game. The more doors you have, the more mortgages you're paying down, the better it is. So because the mortgage pay down is like the main course, so to speak.
Yeah, and your due diligence process is so good that and you've systemized it that you're actually coming out with I'm not going to give anything away because it's I don't know when you're actually going to release it, but it's a great product or system that other people will have the opportunity to use for their own deals as well. So that's going to be super exciting when that announcement is made. I hope I didn't let the cat out of the bag.
You can give it away.
Oh, I can.
So basically, I'm creating an online app that basically is my system that I use, and it's just basically I created it for me, and I think there's a market out there for other real estate investors because they think like I do, and usually when you it's a language, if you're a real estate investor and you talk to another real estate investor, a lot of times you can skip over little things and you short slang. Every language has got its own little slang. And you can almost finish the other guy's sentences. Like he's a real estate investor when you start finishing each other's sentences, and that's a very cool thing, right? Because you can get through. It's so efficient, and that's what. And when you talk about this app, it really does. It's kind of like it's like you're finishing each other's sentences again. It just makes things easier, and it's kind of like I call it an Excel spreadsheet on steroids. And then you basically just update your values, your rent roll, your expenses, and you press print. And it does a portfolio analysis. It does your overall portfolio analysis. So it does your individual properties, your overall portfolio analysis, and then does the properties you're buying, multiple properties, and there's no limit to the amount of properties. So if you're buying a portfolio, it will do the entire portfolio, and it will show the impact on your overall portfolio. Yeah. So it shows it shows the bank everything. So actually, in the end, by the bank giving you a financing, it actually shows that you're lower risk than anyone else out there because you're basically everything's there in black and white. It's numbers, and numbers are universal. The language of numbers is universal.
Yeah, and it helps to lend a layer of professionalism and a layer of transparency that most banks and most joint venture partners don't see. So it really ups your game when you have that level of reporting, and it's so cool that you've made that accessible to to everybody. And I can't wait till it's released. I know I'm going to be one of your first customers for sure, and probably getting as many people to sign up as I can. So
well, I appreciate that. So when you come in there, say that professional report, it gives you an opportunity to save money. Like last year, we saved $500,000 with this report.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and who? Yeah, and I haven't heard of anybody else being able to get 40-year amortizations with 15% down, but you've just recently done that. So
on four buildings last year, and on one case, this is my favorite one. We didn't have to do an appraisal. The bank said that my report was so comprehensive, like the economic analysis, the building analysis, the business plan for the building was so comprehensive that he says it would be better than an appraisal. It wasn't required.
Oh yeah. Really, yeah.
It's funny because that was the least amount of money I saved, but it was the coolest thing for me.
And when you even dive into the macroeconomics and the economics of the area, and all the key drivers and all the stuff, so you can point and show very plainly where the real estate market is headed and how you can, achieve the additional incomes that you can project and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool, and I can't wait till you tell your story at the meeting about how a drippy tap is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's pretty cool.
That tap was worth $136,000. That's pretty cool.
$136,000, yeah. Well, you remember, Al, right?
Yeah.
From our club, yeah. So he shared last meeting. He increased the rents at one of his 15-unit buildings by 40,000. Yeah. So he's got a.
I just watched that podcast.
Yeah, right. So an increase in value of over $500,000 based on that, right? And he's doing some work. He's replacing some windows and he's working with improving the units, right? And the tenants are very happy about that. But the fact that you can create that much wealth within, he bought it, and then 4 months later, it's now worth $500,000 more. That's the power of multifamily, and I think that's the direction that eventually serious real estate investors go. Like, it's great to buy, a house or two or three or 20 or whatever, but eventually, if this is the business you want to be in and you don't want to stall out, then eventually, if multifamily is where you want to go, because that's where the true power of real estate comes into play. So,
it's that cap rate equation, right? So, then that's the biggest for me. That's the biggest I've done single residential and I've done multifamily. The single residential, like when you refinance a house to buy another house, you have to service the debt yourself personally. In multifamily or commercial, when you refinance on a building, it's based on the ability for the building to pay. So the building actually pays the debt for you. Like, so it covers off its own debt and allows you to go and buy another building, so which will cover off its own debt as well. So it just grows organically, and you can force the appreciation, that's the strongest part. That's the strongest part about the commercial and multifamily.
Yeah.
So Mike, you guys are at 80 units or more now? Probably more.
80 doors, and then we'll be 95 when we close this building.
Nice.
So I still consider myself a junior investor, though.
Yeah, I guess until you break 100, I don't know.
Well, some of the guys that you go in the room with, they got like 1,000 doors, and you're like, wow, okay, I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. So
you keep pace for the next 6 years, and you'll be there.
Yeah, but you know what? The most interesting thing, and just because we're talking about it right now, I met a billionaire last month, and one thing it was at this conference or this I guess public forum and that. It was funny because what I recognized about him is he was there. He was grinding like I grind. Like when you raise capital to buy real estate, he was showing a customer or a client, high value client, what's going on these projects. Like it was in this case in the city of Surrey. He's raising capital just like I raise capital. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. You always run out of capital, and you have to bring on partners in order to grow your business. So that was really interesting for me. I think when I saw that, it was really interesting to see that doesn't matter what level you are, you're always raising capital and you're always selling, doing the grind.
So I mean, you guys saw some incredible gains in the Lower Mainland market, which helped you, buy your first multifamily building. And it sounds like you were able to buy the next one, or possibly the next one on your own. At what point did you guys start raising capital?
Well, we said we raised capital by when I made the decision to go to multifamily, and we committed to it, and we sold off a couple of our single residential houses, and in retrospect, like say you always make mistakes and you kind of regret it later, because those same houses are worth $300,000 more. I could actually refinance if I would have waited a year, I could have refinanced, got the money I got out when I sold them, and still own the property and cash flowed it. So, but that's how you learn and move forward, right?
Yeah.
So, no matter how, don't be afraid about making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes no matter what you do. So just embrace it and learn from it and just carry on. So I got the capital out, and then I think the first one we ended up putting money in with partners on the first couple, and then eventually we obviously ran out of capital, so we had to raise money, and then it was like other friends and families that had seen what we did and they've seen the success we've had. Then they wanted to come on board, and like success attracts capital.
Right. That's right.
Everyone wants to be part of it, and it's kind of fun. Like it's interesting, and you don't always have to JV with someone just because when they have money. Like sometimes, like if I tell them if they think they can do it on their own, you tell them they can do it on their own. The only reason they want me is especially when they're already have that education. The only reason they want me because they want to share the risk, or they want to cash checks, and they want me to just be the managing partner. I do everything for them.
Yeah, and they know how much work it is, right? So,
yes, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's a key point that you bring out there. You can fly solo at it for as long as you can, but eventually you are going to run out of money, and you're forced to raise capital if you want to keep acquiring things. And it's funny. I wasted 3 years hauling garbage. I had a junk hauling company that I started instead of learning the skills of how to raise capital. And looking back, there was some value in that. I learned some business skills and had employees and learned how to do websites and all that kind of stuff. But if I could do it over again, I would go back and learn how to raise capital, because that would have really sped things up. So one of the things, the place I want to steer the conversation before we run out of time here is something that I think is probably a very valuable tool to you, Mike, when you're raising capital, and how you describe the economy and why real estate is so important. And what do you call it? Economic Darwinism or financial Darwinism? So do you
financial Darwinism, and I call it economic species.
Economic species. Yeah. So run us through the whole thing that you talked to with somebody who's brand new to real estate and why they might be interested. Let's hear it, because I don't know if we'll have time at the meeting.
Okay. So basically, I call it's a thing called financial quicksand, right? Like this one, most everyone out there is experiencing, and if you got someone who's thinking about real estate and they're probably in this position themselves, and they're trying to look and adapt. Financial quicksand is like basically, everyone, like, there's like a whole bunch of new bills nowadays, like in the, I grew up in the 80s, 90s, so there's cell phones that didn't exist back, before I think they came in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And now we have a cell phone bill of $100 a month, and the internet, we have internet bills of $100 a month, and then you add the cable and and another $100 a month, and then you add car bills, and insurance are going up, and they're talking about ICBC and BC right here at 20% increase in rates, but my wages are increasing in rates, and all these things, and then the closing tax loopholes, the federal government, they're talking about that this year, and it's always basically everyone, it's like you're fighting to stay ahead. It's like the more you struggle, it just seems like the more you sink, and before you realize it, you look down, you're kind of up to your neck, and you're in quicksand. Unless you get that lift somehow. And I watch people, they refinance their houses and they pay off their debts, and so they consolidate. But the thing is, it's still the same lifestyle, so they don't learn anything from it. They keep, they don't take that money to generate more cash flow. They take the money to pay off debt, and it gives them a reprieve for a little while. And a couple years later, they're in the same quicksand. They're back where they were. So you either basically, and there's a lot of people out there looking for change. So what they do is they're trying to adapt to the new world, the way it exists. So one of those avenues, I call it, you invest in stock market, you invest in real estate, do you start your own business? There's all these options available, or can you just get more education and just be successful as an employee? So there's all sorts of ways to get ahead. The easiest, or one of the ones I like real estate, is because it's, you're basically determining your own future, and that's the choice. There's a few profit centers in real estate that I like to use, and the strategies involved. I call that financial Darwinism, when you're looking to adapt to the environment, so you basically, so I chose real estate, and then within real estate, I call it the economic species, or subspecies. There's rent to own, there's flipping, there's multifamily, single residential. There are all different ways of making money within real estate. Of course, I said I started out single residential, and I once again adapted, seeing the environment changing. I went to multifamily, because multifamily is it's a set of rules that is consistent, and has less government meddling in it, sort of where they're changing the rules of mortgages and stuff. It's that cap rate equation. So I know it, I understand it, and I can apply it, and I can actually profit from it. So that was my adaptation. For your listeners out there, the number one thing that, if you're just starting out and you don't know where to go and it's intimidating, you need to go to a group like Rents and educate yourself. Education is the key. You look at I look at real estate as a triangle. There's 3 points on it: knowledge, capital, and time. If you don't have capital, you gotta really increase your knowledge, and you can donate your time to growing your portfolio, and capital will follow you. You have to, but it's like, the more you put into that knowledge category, and like going to Rents and learning about real estate, the better the payoff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, you said that you watched a few minutes of my of the presentation I did on the on the economy and why we are where we are, and I really liked kind of your summary of it, of how it used to be with single guy, or one person out of the family would go to work. Usually the man would go to work, and then women enter the workforce. And can you talk about that whole chain of events of where we are, how we as a society found ourselves?
Yeah, so we're after World War II, things were really good, and the economy was great, and all the soldiers returned home, and it was great, and there was a couple generations of family, and it was good times, right? The economy was good, and it was always kind of moving in a positive direction. And then eventually, that lifestyle creep, which was I talked about in that financial quicksand, it started coming in, right? Everyone's, we're a capitalist society, so everyone's trying to increase their profits. So every year, they're raising prices here and there, and when you're an employee, that erodes, because your wages are increasing the same level, right? So, it's being creative. So what happened is, in the 1970s, do you guys remember the Dolly Parton movie 9 to 5? It's kind of indicative of the time. Women started going to work. Before they didn't necessarily always. I don't think they didn't all stay home, but a lot of them stayed home and work. And I don't want to make myself sound sexist here, but
that's how it was.
Just this way. Yeah, the way it was. My mom. I remember my mom was home, right? And then eventually in the late 70s, early 80s, you started. More women started going to work. So the husband went to work, and then the wife went to work, and then the kids. A lot of times, the kids would come home, and I guess we got the term latchkey kids. You come in and you just come home and you sit home and watch TV until your parents get home from work. It was kind of it was normal for me, right? But I didn't realize that was a social evolution where women are going to work, because people are getting behind, right? And as and then even you go into the 90s and the early 2000s, and then you start so then they invented this. Well, they didn't. I guess they invented the credit cards became a predominant way of extending that lifestyle, keeping up with the Joneses, right? And it just erodes cash flow, and it's more and more and more, and then you start seeing the price of housing goes up and all this. It's just everything is so expensive, and it's hard for kids to get ahead, so they live at home longer. And recently we've seen parents are moving back in with their kids, so because the kids can't afford to help them out, so they move back in. So it's called the sandwich generation. So people are trying to adapt, but they're adapting. They're dealing with the symptoms and not the overall. And the financial Darwinists out there are trying to increase the cash flow, not through other means like the real estate, using the power and leverage as a profit center. Cash flow, where you're looking to education on real estate to kind of to go off in that direction to improve your lot in life, so to speak.
Yeah. So and now there's nowhere for the economy to expand. So we have this the 2008 financial crisis. There was quantitative easing, printing of money, inflation is eroding away at us now, and what's the antidote? What's the easiest way to get ahead? And hard assets, income producing assets is.
I think it's got to be the normal. We got to start teaching our kids differently. Say you need to invest in assets that pay you back, and you got to start earlier and earlier and earlier. And it's going to be parents donating to their kids, donating funds to their kids or setting them up. And it's not just about education funds; it's about providing them cash flow, so when they're out of high school and out of college, they can actually, they're off to the races. They're not going to have that big student loan. Speaking of lifestyle creep, those student loans just kill people. So in order to get ahead in the workforce, you end up taking, you'll get a master's or a PhD nowadays, and then you get to work, and then you're getting a job, $50,000-$60,000 a year, so you got these, $100,000-$200,000 student loans, especially in the United States. Canada is not so bad. I think you probably get by, 90 to 120,000. So, but it's, it's still expensive, and it sits there. It's always there hanging over you, and you can't declare bankruptcy and get rid of it. Like it clings to you. It's like those debt commercials with that guy in the red dressed in red. He's always on your back, right? And he gets bigger and bigger, and you're always one paycheck away from really being in trouble.
Well, one of my wife's colleagues, she's 10 years older than us, and she just put out a Facebook post. Oh yeah, I just finally paid off my student loans, right? So, it's absolutely true. So talk about Mike. Talk about what you call real estate investors. What is our evolutionary title in your world of economic Darwinism?
Real estate investors. I call it. I guess it's an economic subspecies. And then I guess it is what it is. Like it's all about cash flow. It's about cash flow and building more. Like you're an opportunist. You're creating options. You're creating opportunities for yourself and your family. And you just build from there. And when you buy, you make your money. In real estate, you make your money when you buy. That's when I say about creating those opportunities. When you buy a property, there's got to be a value add to it. It's not just because if you don't buy the right property, you're stagnant.
Right.
You're for the next, you're back where you are. But if you can do that value add, it can give you a boost and you get that next property that much sooner. So every property I buy, there's always used probably 99. I guess I haven't bought that many. So I say 99 out of 100, but it's more like 9 out of 10. There's a value add on there where I know within the next 3 to 5 years I'm going to be able to get a lift on that property. I'm going to be able to pull money out or get some kind of way of leveraging that into another property. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I look for. When I look at a property, it's not just the property, the cash flow. I look at it. How's it going to perform this market? Can I make it work? And is there a value add where I can buy that this property is going to pay for my next one? And that's the strongest thing that I use to buy more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mike, we've got 1 minute left. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
What would you tell your younger self?
Start sooner.
What are you afraid of?
Everyone does that.
Absolutely. What are you afraid of, and how do you overcome it?
Not really sure. I guess my kid's getting hurt, and really just because I'm a hawk parent, so I hover over them.
Helicopter or hawk?
Okay, or the helicopter, yeah. The hawks, they kind of float around on the field looking for mice.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, and we could talk for a long time, but hey, really looking forward to having you at the rents meeting here in Kamloops, and we'll be recording that talk in case anybody misses it, but I really hope you guys can make it. We only have 40 seats available, and I think half of those are already taken, so really looking forward to it, Mike, and thanks for being on the Rents podcast.
I'm looking forward to it. Love talking about all things real estate.
Me too. Okay, chat soon. Before we close the show, I just want to say that all the activities Rents undertakes, including this podcast, benefits our bursary program. We've given thousands in bursaries to post-secondary students in real estate-related fields of study. And in that light, I'm asking that wherever you're listening to this, please comment and let us know what you think, good or bad. You're also invited to our next meeting for free. You'll learn something new from one of our speakers and even have a chance to pitch your deal. Do you need cash? Are you looking for property to buy? Share what you're missing with the group and watch your business grow. At recent meetings, there was over $1,500 in finder's fees handed out just for providing a name and a number to someone who is selling a property. There's always at least $1 million in the room looking for the right opportunity, so this is your chance to pitch your deal. You never know where you're going to meet your next joint venture partner. If you're new to real estate investment, we want to hear from you too. You have unique talents and experiences that we can all benefit from, so please come share. You'll have the opportunity to learn the business and meet other like-minded people looking to make the world a better place. Remember that Everything you want is in the hands of others, so come learn how to serve them. Lastly, we ask that you leave us a 5-star review. This will help others who need unbiased real estate education find us. To join us in person or online, please email info@rents.website. That's info@rents.website. See you next time.